Kevin, this is Dr. Jester. Wanted to discuss with you your portfolio document on Judaism. So basically, every document I look at, I notice if there are several quotes in it, then I do an evaluation. There are two parts to the evaluation. There is, first of all, the similarity index. Yours was at 22%. This is a copy of, and we'll supply this to you. This is a copy of the similarity index. Yours was at 22%. Scrolling down, this is no problem here. You've got this in quotes. That's good. As you begin to see here, you've got other items that Turnitin is showing some quotations here that are not correctly or properly cited. So this one, anytime you have 3 or more consecutive words borrowed from a source, you are to place that in quotation marks, indicating it comes from someone else. You know, if you're quoting a scripture, that's one thing. If you're quoting common knowledge, that's another. But when someone else has used the phrase 2 traditional forms of worship in Hebrew, as you see here, you're going to have to make sure that that is quoted properly. Here you don't have one quotes around that one. You've got another one here, rather almost a complete sentence with, again, similarity of a source. Here you've got a much longer one. Those all have to be placed in quotation marks. You have to indicate the source. If I go over here to, that's a different story, so I'll back up off that. All right, so that's the number one problem. You've got text that you're using a source from and not giving the source the proper credit for that. Even if you place a footnote by that, so that you're saying, I got it from this location. If it's quoted from the source, you have to place those exact words in quotation marks. Otherwise, academically, it is considered plagiarism. People get in trouble for plagiarism. And I'm sure that this is just an oversight. However, it necessitates a couple of things. Number one, you're going to have to come up with an explanation to me of why this happened. Plagiarism occurrences, GCU takes very seriously, and we could all be in trouble if we didn't deal with this. So I do think it's just a basic accident. So we've got to correct that before I can actually grade it. So you're going to have to go back through here and deal with any instances of quoted material that are not properly cited. But we have an additional problem. This is the additional problem. The number on red means that when I take away the filter that doesn't check the quotes, and then I tell it to check the percentage of quotations in the document, this is what it tells me. It says that 40% of your document is not original. The threshold for both the similarity and quotation percentages is 20%. So you're significantly higher than the threshold here on what or how many quotes are allowed in a document. Typically, if a person has 20% or over, I just let them know that that's running a little bit high. If they reach 30%, it calls for a revision. So you basically got two things going on. You've got quotes that you haven't correctly identified as coming from a particular source, and then you've got large swaths of quoted material that you do cite correctly, but are using too much of. What it means is basically that you're relying on the source to make your argument. Anytime you get over a certain percentage, originality goes down, so you're letting the source make your claim for you. There are a couple of ways to rectify that. Number one, determine if you really need that quote. Number two, summarize more of your quotes rather than actually quoting their terms and words. So in your own words, say what they said. That is actually, as you advance more in your academic career, that is actually what you're supposed to be doing. You want to quote very sparingly because you're becoming the expert, so it has to be your opinion. When you summarize a document rather than quoting from it, you're demonstrating that you know their argument, so you can restate their argument using your own terms. So that's what we've got going on here. I'm going to provide you with both of these documents. Number one, I'm going to send everything to the individual form, and you're going to have to respond there with an explanation of how this occurred, why it occurred, and how you're going to fix it. Now, I do need to let you know there is a 10% penalty on revisions. You're only allowed one. And if it comes back and it's significantly over 30% quotation percentages, I still can't accept the document and you'll get a 0 on it. You don't want that to happen, nor do I. But that's GCU policy. So I want you to just let me know how you're going to fix this, rectify it. I'll give you 5 days to be able to do that, but you need to respond to me within 48 hours with an explanation of what happened and how you plan to resolve it. Now, if there's a second occurrence, I do have to report improper quotations to the Academic Office for Code of Conducts. They take it that seriously because it could impact the university if something of yours got published and it slipped through the system that you had borrowed somebody else's words but didn't give them credit for it. In other words, that you had plagiarized. And this happens sometimes. People do that unintentionally. Occasionally they do it because just out of ignorance about the proper way to cite sources. So we're going to fix this, but I'm going to place all this in the individual form, and you'll need to discuss that with me there. Okay? All right.